Hello, everybody. Welcome to another podcast episode of Alice Mike's podcast. Today we have a special interview with Jazmin. She is a college student at a California State University, and we're gonna talk about her experience going to college at or during this COVID-19 epidemic. Her experience, what she thinks about it, how it has changed definitely college life, the expectation of classes and teachers, and how it just really turned everything upside down from what you expect out of college, or at least the college experience. So here she is. Thank you, Jazmin, for coming in and for this interview.
You're welcome.
There you go. That's Jazmin right there. So go ahead and tell me what are you majoring on?
I'm a psychology major. Well, I'm a double major in psychology and biology.
Cool.
Undecided about my minor. Yeah.
And how long have you been going to college?
Too long.
Too long, huh?
Too long.
Yes.
Should have graduated already. Long time ago. I've been going to the university for 4 years.
Okay. But it's with college universities. A lot of us are told the fairy tale of associates 2 years, bachelors 4 years, masters 6 years or something like that. But that's first of all, if you're able to get all the classes you need, right? And that's being a full-time student. That's with no job, no nothing, full-time student. And of course you got to pass all your classes. And we're not all perfect. I mean, we have to get some type of income. So, we're adults. The government's not going to pay our living, and we have to pay our own living. Most of us, our food, and I would always tell people out there, or even younger kids that are looking for the college experience, or talking about college, like they'll tell you 2 years associates, 4 years bachelors, and all that. But it's close to a fairy tale. If you could do it, that's great. That's great, but I think it's just becoming a harder expectation for that to come by. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I went to community first, and then I transferred to university. Community in itself took me 5 years. It should not have taken me that long, but like you said, things happen. A lot of bumps along the road. As much as I wanted to consider myself a full-time student, I was also working full-time, and one or the other thing suffered, and typically it was school, because I couldn't, do poorly in work.
Yeah, well then, just think about the economics too of school. Even if you're going to community college, and there's a lot of helps, a lot of government, help, go to the government, or it's definitely cheaper to go to community college than to go to the other like CSUs or UCs or stuff like that. But just to buy a book or rent a book, it's like what, $300, $500?
I mean, renting's always, typically it's under the hundreds, but buying a book, oh my God, the most expensive book I've bought so far, it was like over $300, and when I wanted to resell it at the end of the year, they were going to give me less than $100. So
yeah, so I mean, you have to go to work. Yeah, you have to get some type of income. You have to. So a full-time student, and you have to go to work, at least work 20 hours. Like, you're stretched thin. So I guess that's my little rant on the fairy tale expectation of what they tell you in high school. It doesn't mean to discourage. I don't want to discourage people, from going to college, because they should go. But yeah, it's just I don't think anybody's. A lot of people don't hear the I will say the truth. So, sometimes you go to college and you're undecided. You like one thing and you're set on a certain subject, and you want to major on this, and then halfway you're like, oh man, this is not really what I want, and you switch up, you know, stuff. Did that happen to you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was a business major.
Oh, how about that?
Then I went to psych. And then I stayed in psych, and then the more I did it, the more I realized maybe I don't want to go into therapy. Maybe I want to do something a little more working with like medications and patients and stuff like that. So then I decided, okay, well, let's add biology to it. So see where that gets me.
Okay. And how? Let's just describe your college experience before COVID. How were classes? Your schedule? How was it?
It wasn't as flexible. Obviously, you have a set schedule where you have to attend class at a certain time, and then certain professors, they, I think they mentioned that they were not by university guidelines, they weren't able to count attendance as a grade. So the way they would go around it was counting participation as a grade, but your participation, obviously, you have to be there to participate.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of the way of going around it. For labs, I mean, you have to attend the lab at the specific time, and get things submitted at a specific time, and everything was structured for you.
And then with the lab, I mean, I've heard you would have a lot of times it's lab partner or somebody you have to work with, or is it just by itself? Or it depends on the lab, or it depends on the class.
I usually had to work with someone because, I mean, there were some labs you could do by yourself, but for the most part, you have a lab partner.
And depending on somebody else, like was it a lot like high school, where sometimes like the person didn't want to like help out or didn't know what they're doing, and you kind of had to like carry the weight, or like now that they're considered adults going to college, well, did it change?
I personally didn't have that experience of having to carry all the weight of the group, or between me and my lab partner. And I don't think I ever had that experience. I think if I was lost, I could ask them a question, and if we were both lost, then it was like, I don't know if it was because of the professor, but it was always like, well, I'll ask if I need to. I feel like because of my age, I don't know if it mattered. I don't know if it mattered, but like I would notice that most of the people that I was in class with were a little bit younger than me, like by a couple years. And so they were a little more hesitant to ask questions than me. But I also remember, like, back when I was their age, I'm like, yeah, I was a little hesitant too, because I don't want to come off as dumb.
Yeah.
But now, like, with all my work experience that I've had, and just daily life experiences, I learned, like, I'd rather ask the question than take a guess at it and then do it wrong, and then I really do look dumb because all I had to do was ask them to be able to do it right. So
I totally understand that aspect, being a little older than my classmates. Like when I went to college, my gap, I think, was a way bigger gap.
yeah.
Because I got out of high school, and I was it took 7 years until I went back. Then I said went back, started college. I can never say I went back to college because I never started. So, I was just turned 25 when I went in, and everybody else was either 19, 18, 20. So I definitely was a person to ask a lot of questions, but I don't think I was the annoying one as well.
Yeah.
That, I wasn't that one either, but I want to get clarification. I want to know what I was doing, because I understood the concept that I have to pay for this.
Right.
And it wasn't like this is just some free stuff that's, just been handed over to me, or and I knew that my time was money too. I was working full time and going to school full time. So it was, 8-hour shift and then 4 hours each day. So I knew those 4 hours I had to be there and get as much out of it, because the classes were 6 weeks, at least for mine, in my experience. So definitely, I wasn't. I would see my other classmates and I would be like, don't waste your time. Because I felt like I had wasted my time taking so long to go to college. And I was like, you guys are already here. Like, take advantage of it. So de- definitely understand that aspect that of what you're saying about having a lab partner and not being shy and just going out there and just, hey, this is what I want, and just going grabbing it. Okay, getting the bulls by the horns, as they call it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So we'll go back to your schedule. So you had the labs, and then so you had your set labs, and then so your school structure was pretty structured, but you had to go into class. Did you have any online classes?
I took I recently started taking online classes like the semester before COVID, where I took like really easy online classes.
Okay.
Two really easy online classes, and it was a cakewalk, which is why I took them online, because I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a cakewalk. I don't have like, if I can do it online and get credit for it versus having to readjust my schedule too, because the reason why everything was structured wasn't because like the school structured it for me. It was because I had to structure things for myself, because
Yes.
I also had to factor in my job.
Yeah.
And it was a full-time job, and I'm not gonna it was like, it's hard because at my, well, now I'm 26 and I'm like, okay, well, I need health benefits, but I need to go to school. And so it's like, well, the only way you can get health benefits, at least in my case, was working full time. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to work full time for my health benefits, and obviously for the pay and the experience. And I need to go to school full time because I need to get out of here too. Like, I've been here so long. I'm ready to like move on already.
Yeah.
And I just like, I need to get it done.
Okay. So you did. So you felt a pressure just because you saw everybody else around you a little bit, younger or so.
Yeah, because everybody's already now in their like 19, 20, 21, 22 maybe. When they're transfer students, they're about 22, 23, at least the ones that I've met so far. So I was even still older than the transfer students. And yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to get ahead here.
And how did you handle working full time and going to school full time as well? How was that? I mean, how was it finding a job that you could accommodate to your schedule?
Well, when I first moved to go to university, I took an overnight job because I'm like, that this is the only way where work and school would not like collide together.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least I thought, because I'm going to go to work overnight. Nothing's going on school overnight. And then in the morning, I'm going to go to school, but nothing's going on at work in the morning or throughout the day. And so, it sounded like a great idea. Like, oh, okay, well, when I work overnight, I'll just do my homework then, because it was really flexible. It was a chill job, you can say, and
yeah,
and that was the idea, is do homework overnight and then go to school in the day, and take naps here and there, and then get my sleep before work or something, and just trying to figure out a sleep schedule. But in reality, it didn't work that way. Like, working overnight, sometimes emergencies will happen and you have to go respond to those, so you put your homework on hold, and then you're like, okay, well, I'll do the homework before class or whatever, but you're so tired. Well, I was so tired, and I was like, I really need to sleep, but I really need to complete this. So there were days where I would get 2-3 hours of sleep, and some weeks where like my maximum was maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep a day.
Wow.
And then just go from there. And then after a year doing that, I just couldn't. I was burnt out. I just couldn't do it anymore.
So then but then after your shift was done, you had to go to class, right?
Yeah, there were some days where like my shift ended at 7 and my class started at 8, and because of morning traffic, like it was gonna take me about 45 minutes to get to school, find parking, get to my classroom, and that's already the hour.
Yeah.
So it was like overnight shift, go straight to school. And sometimes it was like not just one class, it was like go to 2 or 3 classes, and you're just like a zombie at that point. And all I could think about was going to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing your schedule right now, and I'm thinking of sleeping too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite extreme. But it's one of those things where on paper sounds great. In a perfect world, hey, there's no emergencies. You could take your little naps, you chill, but it just it just unfortunately doesn't work out that way.
Right. And I mean, I will admit, I'm not the greatest at time management. Like, I am horrible at time management. I'm a huge procrastinator. So I think, I'm sure there's people out there that can do it. And I'm sure there's people that it works really well for them. Great for them. But for me, I wasn't doing well. I wasn't great at time management and I was a procrastinator. So even though I was going to work and I was getting things done, I wasn't sleeping. And like that just took a toll.
Did you see your work, your schoolwork or your assignments kind of grades kind of be affected by that?
And that's the funny thing that I had straight A's that semester.
Hey, how about that? Under pressure.
Yeah, big time. But it's the funny thing that I got straight A's that semester. But like the toll it took, it was horrible.
Did you have any support system?
I did. I still do.
Good.
But, even with that, I'm one of those people that I want to do things on my own and I know someone there to support me, but I'm also like, well, I want to be there for you too. I don't want it just to be a one way where you're giving me all this support and I'm not giving anything back. So it was, yes, I did have the support and I'm very appreciative for it. It was tremendous help. But even with that, I think it definitely took a toll. So people who don't have the support and are able to do it that way, I mean, shout out to them because it is so hard.
Would it? I mean, I don't want to deviate too much from where we're going, but being that you're going for a psychology major, do you think that's why a reason? It's a cause, you might say, for somebody to start getting like depression or so, at that such a young age, or not that age is a factor, but like depression or that tiredness, kind of they're really tired all the time. Like what I'm trying to say, it must affect that person mentally, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was tired all the time. I gained a lot of weight. I would eat and sleep and like my body knew already, like once I was done eating, like automatically it was like, okay, time to go to bed. And once I stopped working overnights and I tried to, get back into a regular schedule, my body was still like, oh, we're eating, okay, let's go to sleep after we're done here, because that's what I had gotten my body used to. Eat, go to sleep, and then wake up and then do all the stuff you got to do. And then when you eat again, that's when you're going to go to sleep right after that. It was just a really bad schedule. Like poor time management, procrastinating, and just, yeah, it definitely took a mental toll. Like now I can't, if I pull an overnighter, like it takes a hard toll on my body. I mean, I'm a little older now, not that I'm super old, but like I'm a little older now and
Oh, wow. You're in your mid-20s.
I'm in my late 20s now, technically.
I'll call it mid-20s, okay?
Late 20s now, but still, like all that sleeplessness took a toll, and I think, at least in my case, I don't know if there's any, I'm not saying that it's a scientific fact in my case, but I feel like it definitely
just from experience,
for me, it definitely made a permanent impact to where, like, I do pull overnighters for tests and stuff like that, but the recovery time now is like a week.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, so your schedule either way was it was hectic or so before all this COVID pandemic stuff. So now let's jump forward, and this thing, it started off mid-March, correct?
Around there, yeah.
2020. You're in the middle of a semester, correct?
Right.
So everything shuts down. What happened? Like, how do you get the news? How do you just did you just stop? What happened? Like, what was your experience of just everything just shutting down, or how did you hear? Like, how did you hear about it? How did you hear about the schedule? Everything. Like, how did it go?
I think we were on spring break at that time. And we were on spring break, and then we got an email saying, oh, we need to make some arrangements due to this whole new COVID thing, and we need to, we're going to try and see how we can continue to educate with the COVID, the pandemic going on. And they're like, so you're going to get another week off. And it was like, oh, heck yes.
Woohoo!
And then, basically we had 2 weeks off in that case. And then as the second week was wrapping up, they're like, actually, you guys are not going to be coming onto campus anymore. You're going to be doing distance learning. And after that, it was just like scrambling to get, making sure that you have accessible Wi-Fi at home, making sure you have a laptop to work from or some type of electronic device, not a phone, obviously, but like a laptop, tablet, or computer, whatever, to work from, do all that stuff, make sure you have resources, really, to continue your education. Am I making you sleepy?
No. It's all the Chick-fil-A we ate.
That was good Chick-fil-A.
We're not being sponsored by Chick-fil-A.
But if they wanted to,
more than welcome.
But yeah, it was honestly, now I'm like trying to remember, and it was like such a blur because it was horrible. Professors were trying to scramble to now, create their lesson plans that were intended to be taught in person to now online, and trying to make sure that they're still getting the same point across. Mm-hmm. At least some of professors were, because one of my professors was not doing that. Oh, God, I hated him. He was terrible. But yeah, it was just like, everybody was like running around with their chickens with their heads cut off because.
What did the school try to? What did they offer as an assistance?
So in my case, at my school, what they were letting us know is, we do have available laptops that you guys can check out for the rest of the semester, but there's a limited quantity, so you have to sign up immediately, right? And so, I already had a laptop and I had that type of resource, but at the time I didn't have reliable Wi-Fi. I had Wi-Fi, but it was like really shoddy. It was horrible. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, we also have these, hotspots.
Yeah.
That we're offering. So they're like, we're offering these hotspots, but there's also a limited amount. And I think there were less than 100 at the time. And they're like, you need to sign up. And if we run out, you're going to be waitlisted for one. And, as soon as one becomes available, we'll let you know. And I did become waitlisted. But I got an email within a week of like, hey, we have one available. And they offered either you could pick it up at school or they would ship it to you. Mm-hmm. And so at the time I was still living in the same city as the school. So I was like, okay, I'll pick it up. And it was like contactless pickup and all this stuff. It was so that worked out. But they also, what they did was, and I don't know if it was throughout the whole, public university system, the California public university system, or the whole CSU system. But what they did was that they let us know that typically you can drop your class within the first 2 or 3 weeks of school without any type of penalty, like it affecting your GPA or getting a W or an F, right? Okay. And then after that, you can drop with some type of, it has to be like a good excuse in a sense, of some type of family emergency or life-changing event that happened where you have to drop, but you have to get it approved by the school before you can drop.
Yeah.
Or you fail the course. Well, what they did was, because of COVID, they consider that an extenuating circumstance. So they're like, you guys are allowed to drop your classes with a W. It won't affect your GPA, but you will show a W on your transcript, up until like sometime of the middle of May. And so, you know, in my case, that helped a lot because once everything went virtual, like I just, my classes, my work declined, my work quality declined. Like I was not able to have, as it is, I'm bad at time management. And with COVID hitting and us all scrambling and all this, it was even worse. So I was not able to keep up with assignments. I wasn't able to keep up with lectures. It was just horrible. So when they offered that, I ended up dropping, I think, 2 courses. My 2 courses that were in person before COVID, and I stayed with my 2 courses that were virtual before COVID because they were really easy. And I'm like, I know I'm going to get an A in these 2. Like, I'm going to keep them.
Yeah.
But those other 2, I dropped them with a W. But it was hard because I had to meet with like academic counselors and ask them, when I apply for my master's program, like, how is this going to affect me? Because now I'm going to have W's on my transcript.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, considering that, there's tons of students going through this. There's tons of students with, taking W's, dropping classes and taking W's for the course and stuff. They're like, we don't think that it's going to affect you, a whole heck of a lot because everybody's going through this. And I think that they're like, and we think that, they're going to understand that it was due to COVID, like extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
So that put me at ease. And I was like, okay, well, I'd rather get the W than the F. Because I did ask them too, well, what do they prefer to see, a W or an F? And they were like, well, if you get a W, they don't really know what grade you were going to get before the W.
Yeah.
Versus if you get the F, well, yeah, you were clearly failing the course, And so they're like, we think that it'd be better for you to get the W, but it's up to you. And so I went ahead and I just dropped the 2 courses, and I took the W's for them.
And the classes that unfortunately you got a W, on, they're probably hard classes already that you were taking, like in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were already hard in person. Now you switch them to an online. It's so, was it? I think the word interpersonal. Like you don't really have that. You can't really talk to the teacher one-on-one if you need anything, and then just you're getting the teachings off of video, in slideshows. I mean, me personally, if I see a slideshow on a TV or in a classroom setting as we're used to, then okay, it's a slideshow, and you by yourself watching it from on a screen, a slideshow, it's just like, man, I started daydreaming about something else. For my experience, I mean, because we're from the generation that we've been accustomed to be learning in a classroom setting.
Right.
So, and then to get switched, on a turn of a dime, to an online course setting. How hard was that?
Well, the way that they did it, at least for that first semester where we switched from in-person to virtual, one of my courses, my professor was like, okay, you're still going to have to attend class between this time frame, the already scheduled time frame that you were attending in person. And I'm going to hold a live lecture. And so basically through Zoom, he would share his screen and go through the lecture, and then he'd add in whatever else he wanted to add into it. Mm-hmm. And, he would post like supplemental videos to help us understand the content and things like that. The other professor, gosh, he was so terrible, and I don't know why he's still employed there. He was more like, you guys can access this course whenever you want. Here's the slides. Read them, understand them, do your work, and I'm not available, kind of thing.
Even though, let's just say, it's easier for him or her, whatever the professors, to be available, because now, it's just my opinion, or I'm just speculating. There's no travel time now. There's no, I don't know, you're at your house. I believe it's still getting paid the same. So, why not become more available, or, you know, put out more resources? So but we do understand everybody was scrambling around. They did not expect this, but I mean, it's just it's unfortunate to hear, you know, that.
Yeah, I mean, in his case, he wouldn't post lectures for over a week, and you were kind of like, "Hey, you'd have to email him like, "Hey, professor, I'm waiting. Like, is anything due this week? Like, what are we doing? Where are we? Like, you haven't posted anything."
Yeah.
And then, wait if he is gonna reply, or sometimes he didn't, and just kind of wait and see and check in on well, the system we used was Canvas, and check in on Canvas to see, did he post anything, like, are we doing anything, or he didn't have like, oh, if you need extra help, like, come see me at this time or anything like that. It was just a free-for-all, like, here's these slides and figure it out. And it was horrible.
Yeah, that, man, definitely a unfortunate situation right there.
Well, especially when you're paying for it and you're like, why am I paying to teach myself? This is ridiculous. But I'm sure a lot of people can like resonate with that. Like, a lot of courses that we do take, we're literally paying to teach ourselves.
And luckily we have, at this time of age, we have resources that we could use and try to teach ourselves. I think what other generations did not have.
Yeah.
But, you're saying if you're paying for it, you expect to be taught, the course. I know some people, they it's easier for them to learn than others. Some, I'll say, some are visual learners, some are auditory, some are, they're different type of learning, of course. But to completely have to teach yourself, that sucks. Been there. Definitely been there. What do you? Okay, so that was the first semester. How about for the second semester was a transition because you expected to still be an online course? The expectation what made it easier for you, that you already know what you're going into, or let's backtrack. How did a university let you know that, hey, we're gonna keep going this way?
I think by May they already knew, like, we're gonna have to keep doing this thing virtual. Okay. I want to say that by May we already knew that. It was a little hard when registering for classes because it gives you a time there and it tells you this class is taking place from this time to this time, but then you're stuck wondering, am I gonna have to? Is it gonna be synchronous or asynchronous? Like, am I going to have to attend it at that specific time? Or is that just like the time that they're going to be, doing the live lecture, but I can access it whenever I want, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it kind of sucked because I also have work, and I'm like, well, okay, if it's asynchronous where I don't have to attend it at the same time that they're doing the live lecture, then I can say sign up for a 6:00 class, even though I'm going to go, I work from 3 to midnight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's not going to affect me because I can log in whenever I want and do the work whenever I need to do it. Mm-hmm. But it didn't give you details on that. And so it kind of sucked when registering for classes, because you're stuck wondering that. And then you're like, well, should I take the risk of signing up for it and find out, or should I not risk it and just see what else there is?
Yeah.
And then the labs, we didn't know yet if we were going to have to attend in-person labs or not.
Oh, okay.
And how those were going to take place.
So there was still you're not sure if you had to actually go in class or attend, go to university for the labs.
Yeah, because labs are obviously hands-on, okay. And at least in our university, there was no availability for any type of online labs before COVID. So everything was hands-on. So it was like, well, you're telling me that lab takes place from 3 to 6.
Yeah.
Like, does that mean that I'm going to be going to school from 3 to 6, or that I have to be logged in from 3 to 6, or is that just that allotted time, but I can sign in whenever I want and do the work I need to do whenever? And so, yeah.
So when did you find out about the schedule for your classes? Like right when you got the classes, you like when the syllabus came out.
When the summertime hit, they sent out another announcement saying all on campus activities were now going to be done virtually. So any and all, including labs, and library was going to be closed. There were, no one, you needed authorization to be on campus, kind of thing. And so I was like, well, then that must mean that, I'm not going to have to attend these things in person. But now you're also stuck with the question of, well, am I going to have to be signed on from, whatever time the lab says this takes place, or is it going to be asynchronous? And I didn't find that out till the day classes began, when they hand out your syllabus, and, they do kind of like the intro through Zoom, and they let you know. So.
What any classes you had kind of shocked you? You had to attend certain times or so, or?
Not that semester, but this semester it did. We have to attend our lab this semester at the specific time. And if you don't attend, that means that you didn't go to lab. And so you missed 3 labs, and that's it. Like, you failed the course. So.
Yeah, no, that's definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the syllabus, you got the times, stuff like that. Did it help out that you knew you're going to be online class? Like, that's like there was no it's, buts, or whens, or there was no question of when. It's going to be online class. That's what you have to do. Did it help you prepare yourself and be ready for the challenge?
Not necessarily, because I was still stuck with the question of, am I going to have to attend this online at the specific time or not? That was a big deal for me. Like, I needed to know that because of work, and I still didn't know. So
once you knew how it was going to be, you got your syllabus, you got you had your set schedule. Okay, so how do you go from there?
From there, it was just figuring out with work, letting them know, can I attend, can I come in at this specific time for a certain day, or can I get this day off because I need to turn lap, between work hours. And I mean, luckily I worked somewhere where it was, they're open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So, adjusting my schedule or missing a weekday wasn't necessarily going to affect my pay, because then that means, then you're just going to work, the weekend to make up, that missed day or something. So, I mean, in that sense, it helped. And then my job at that time helped, because I could, if I wasn't busy at work, they literally would be like, okay, well then do whatever you want to do. If you're not busy, you can go on YouTube, you can do your homework, you do whatever you want, just make sure that you get your job done, and that's it.
How about like the simple, like a worksheet, you had to print stuff out. I mean, everything's shut down. A lot of places you couldn't print stuff. Like, did you have to print stuff like at home, or?
So that was a big deal. Actually, that was a big deal because, for example, my anatomy class, we couldn't just type in our answers into the worksheet, because they were like, according to my professor, there's data that proves that writing things in helps memorization and things like that. So she was like, so for that reason, you guys are not allowed to type in your answers into the worksheet. It has to be handwritten. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, I could have bought a tablet and then, used the tablet and like filled it in, technically handwritten, but with the little, electronic.
With the stylist or so. Yeah.
Right. But I didn't have money to buy the tablet and stuff like that. Like, I didn't have money for that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to print stuff. And so what I would do was, like, my managers were awesome, and they were like, you can print stuff here at the work printer. Like, it's fine, that. Or I would ask, my mom works in an office, so I'd be like, hey mom, can you print something for me? And if I needed it in color, because at work we couldn't print in color, so I was like, can you print this in color for me? And so she always said yes. Like, it was never an issue. So that was that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it was like, oh, like I have to have this printed, or I forgot that I had this due today and I have to get it printed first. And it was scrambling to figure out, like, where do I get it printed if it's in color, but I'm not home,
Yeah.
Like, can I go to, some store to get it printed or things like that? And yeah, it was a nightmare. And, some professors were like, well, you can invest in a printer. They're not that expensive. And it's like, yeah, the printer's not that expensive, but the freaking ink is.
Yes.
And, on top of that, like, well, if my printer doesn't work, if it gets to a point where it doesn't work, like, I'm screwed.
Well, printers, you'll see them like for 50, 80 bucks or so. But to refill the cartridges, they're 120. Or the same price as the printer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm a struggling college student. I can't afford that. Like, no, it's not going to happen. I'd rather have to pay, 10, 20 cents for my print, or have someone print it for me for free kind of thing, or print it myself for free at work or whatever. But yeah, it sucked. And then, you needed to you needed to upload it as a PDF. And so now you're like, okay, well, how can I scan it to upload as a PDF? Because basically what I do is, you need to take a picture of your document and then, convert it to a PDF and submit it. And so then it was like trying to figure out what apps can do that for you, right? Scanning it, to turn it to a PDF so that you can then, download it, upload it up as for your assignment and stuff. Yeah. So that was another thing.
Because technically you were taking a picture of it,
right,
with your phone, and they wanted to set a JPEG,
right?
Because that's the format that the cell phone takes the pictures.
Right.
So as whatever whatever app you would get, it'll still look like a JPEG, but you would, hey, at the end it said PDF and it worked out. But
exactly. What
other technical difficulties did you have? Did you ever have like a Zoom meeting, just like a Zoom lecture? Because you were using the Zoom, right?
Right.
Did that ever like you couldn't hear the professor, or it cut off, or it disconnected, or what kind of technical difficulties did you have?
Well, I had like horrible Wi-Fi, so I ended up getting the mobile hotspot from school, which helped a lot. But I ended up going the route of getting better Wi-Fi. So I went and I got a different provider for my Wi-Fi, and and then even after that though, if there was a power outage in your house, like, you're not going to be able to attend the Zoom or do the test that's due at that specific time. They have to turn a specific that opens only between a certain time frame.
Yeah.
During that power outage or whatever. There were a couple of Zooms where maybe I couldn't hear my professor, or my professor was having trouble with their Wi-Fi and their Wi-Fi would drop, or their Zoom meeting would get like, they would get, because they were the host of the Zoom meeting, their Wi-Fi would for malfunction, and then you're like, oh, where's the professor? And then you're like, well, should I stay on the Zoom meeting, or should I email her? Should I leave?
Yeah.
How long is it going to take her to get her Wi-Fi back up or his Wi-Fi back up?
Yeah. Now, how hard was it to concentrate being at home and on a lecture?
Extremely hard, because I'm like so easily distracted. I'm like doing whatever I'm doing, I'm like, oh, squirrel. Like, it's so easy to be distracted for me personally. And then if whatever we're talking about is like whatever they're lecturing about is not interesting, then there's always something around me that I can fiddle around with, or like do something else. I'd clean my room, I'd pluck my eyebrows, like
perfect time.
I'd play with my makeup. Like, it was, it's like, well, you could do things to like eliminate distractions, and it's like it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, I could also open another window on my laptop, and I could do like some look at stuff, maybe go do some shopping, or things like that, or go on my phone. And it's a lot of self-discipline that I did not have. I had it obviously, in person to person, like, face-to-face lectures, because like I'm not going to be rude and pull out my phone and do whatever, but yeah, online, just following through the lectures, especially when they're not live. I think when they're live, it's a little, for me, it's a little easier to concentrate, but when they're not live, when you're watching the recording and you can just pause it or rewind it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the social pressure of not being in a classroom, right? Because the expectations of being with your classmates, of the teacher, seeing you, what you're doing, that that kind of social norm or pressure you might call it. Not having it at home just makes you kind of be like, ah, well, I'm free and I can do whatever I want. Kind of too much freedom. You would describe it as?
Um, for me, yes. For me personally, because I think for other people, it works wonderfully. I think other people have better self control. I didn't. For me, it was like, oh, so you're telling me that not that you're telling, but you're giving me the opportunity to, just go back to the lecture whenever I want, and I don't necessarily need to pay attention right now. Like I was like, oh, cool. And me being the procrastinator that I am too, I was like, I'll just get back to it later. I'll learn it.
If you were in a classroom setting, would you be taking notes?
Oh yeah, I always took notes in a classroom.
Now that you weren't in a classroom setting, were you taking notes?
Not during the live lectures. I take notes during the recorded, because all my professors, at least the ones from the semester and last semester, they had their lectures pre-recorded. Okay. And so I would attend some of the live lectures and I would just kind of listen. And then from there, I'd be like, okay. And then on my own time, I'd go back to the pre-recorded lectures and then I would take notes from those.
Was there any other technical difficulties that you had?
Not necessarily technical difficulties, but like for this semester, for example, I have to attend like my lab at a specific time, and I have lab partners like virtually, but they're my lab partners and stuff. Okay. And so my lab takes place between 3 and 6 and sometimes longer. And at 5, there's people coming home, and I have dogs and stuff, and they're barking like crazy. But at the same time, I'm trying to answer a question on Zoom, and it's like, it's not a technical difficulty, but it's definitely something where I'm like, it's hard to get that kind of quiet that you need to be able to, do your work, with other people.
Have you invested in like a station or like a desk or so for you to do your work?
So I invested in a rising desk. That's really the only thing that I've invested in terms of, making things easier for myself now that I'm doing more stuff from home. But that was really the only investment that I've made. I've been wanting to like invest in maybe a monitor or buying a TV to like serve as a monitor kind of thing, and a keyboard and a mouse, versus just working from my laptop, because it would make things quicker for me, especially right now because I'm working a lot through Excel. Yeah, it would just make things easier, but again, it costs money, and so for that reason, I'm like, oh, I'll wait a little bit on it. But it's things that I've looked into, and I think there are things that those things can definitely help, improve the experience in a sense of having to do school from home. But it seems more of a luxury than a need, at least in my case, because I have a laptop, and the laptop can do all the things that I needed to do and stuff like that. But it definitely helps to have extra resources.
I'd find it that it's definitely tiring, not having a desk or somewhere to a station to work on. I remember when I did some online classes. Well, my last 2 semesters were really. My last year was almost all online, and as comfortable as the bed is, it's such a bad idea, because I remember falling asleep.
Yeah.
Falling asleep, my and then wake up and my little laptop was a pillow, and Word has a bunch of WRs and
yeah.
So, for me, that was my biggest thing, that I should have invested on at least like a workstation. Like, okay, this is a station. This is where I'm gonna work. This is where I'm I'm gonna sit down and take care of things or so, and not just have the bed or the kitchen table. Even though they do work, and my people might say, well, it's just an excuse, but at least for me personally, I need a station. I need somewhere where I could sit down and do my work.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, you know, it definitely helps to have that workstation. I know that a lot of people, they're in a situation where they're barely making ends meet. And, buying another table or, some form of a workstation is definitely asking too much at this time kind of thing. But, it like when I started doing things virtually, like I too was doing stuff like at the dinner table, on my bed. I had a $20 desk that I bought from someone off of Craigslist. And it was doing its thing, but I found that like my desk was just way too small. So when I had to work on a lot of things at once, it was easier for me to use the dinner table because there's obviously more space.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can have my paper sprawled out and stuff. But then the issue was that sometimes I didn't finish things, but I still needed them out the way that I needed them. So that when I come back, I know you just pick up where you left off. Yeah. But then, like, at least in my case, like, it was like, well, why'd you leave all your stuff on top of the table? Like, take your stuff to your room. This is not where you leave your things. And, and obviously there's other people too who, like me personally, I had to move back home with my parents once COVID hit. But, I'm sure there's other people who live, who have roommates or, things like that where they can't leave things out like that. They have to, or maybe they can't even use the dinner table for things like that and stuff. But, it's hard. It's been really hard, I think. And I mean, mind you, I've had my parents like support and stuff, and they've helped me financially and things like that. But, it's still hard. And so I don't know how people who don't have at least that extra financial support, I'm shout out to them, because I think that, what they're doing is amazing, having to put themselves through school during, horrible times and trying to make ends meet and things like that. It's really hard.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as past experience, I'll talk about my online experience. I was going to a private college, trying to get my degree in criminal justice, my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I was going to a private college that they advertised as being hands-on. They were gonna. It was 6-week classes. 4 hours a day, 2 days a week. But they advertise, where it's all in person. We all the instructors have either a career in that subject field in criminal justice and whatever you're teaching. They're teaching you, and so I mean it was great for the first for the first 2.5 years. But then that last year it just changed. They said no, we're gonna go more online. And at first it was just some basic online classes, but then it changed to major classes were online, and that affected me totally. I like in person. I like having the pressure of having to turn in an assignment to a person and being embarrassed when you said, "Oh, I didn't do it." Like having that pressure made me do my work. Answering questions when the professor asks you, be prepared for class. That's how we've been taught. That's how I've been taught. From elementary all the way to high school. So you're taking online classes, and it's all up to you. It's all up to you to turn everything in. The deadlines are coming up, and you're like, I'll just do it the day before. I'll just do it here. And and then the environment you're in. I mean, it's just again, you're doing it from home. You got a family walking in on you when you're trying to do a test and trying to talk to you, or or they'll distract you even though it's not they're not trying to do it. But definitely being in an online course at home for me it was distracting. It was definitely difficult. Definitely my grades went down. Thankfully the my teachers were flexible and well there weren't much students either. I think there was only like 4 or 5 students in the class, so they could definitely be flexible. And sometimes, yes, we did. I take advantage of that? Yes, I did. But and that was, I mean, I definitely I didn't have any labs. I don't think the classes were as hard. But just definitely one not being used to online classes was at least from my experience was difficult. Doing my capstone in online and not having somebody to talk to about, hey, like, how do I do this? Like, you have to turn in this 15-page paper to 15, 20-page paper. Like, how do you, like, give me advice? Like, show me an example. Like, I want to talk to somebody about it. And you couldn't. Everything was online. Everything was chatting. And this capstone paper was what you were going to graduate or not. So it was an immense pressure of you're kind of flying blind or so. But I got it done. Got my bachelor's. But I did not like the online. I don't like it. I would always like in person and give me a book. I got tablets as books, and I hate reading off a screen. Now going my little rant about online class, but we know it's going to be the future of future of online of classes. Um, Starting from now on. I mean, there were already online classes before COVID pandemic. What do you think the future of universities to college would be?
Well, I mean, I feel like now we're teaching our students, like, from elementary to learn things online now, right? Learning things, through their tablets and stuff like that. I mean, they give you Chromebooks now.
Mm-hmm.
How many elementary kids don't about Chromebooks and stuff like that? And, you don't see kids carrying those heavy books anymore in their backpacks and stuff like that. Like before, at least, as much as like we did before. But I mean, I think it's definitely going to be for kids who start doing the online learning starting elementary. I think it's going to be probably a little bit easier for them to adjust, because they're not necessarily going to have to do an adjustment because that's what they've been used to. But I think if you're, like us, where, our generation, we did things, using a book and in person, like nothing was done online. Like, I mean, yeah, maybe you had to watch a video or some type of clip online, but where you had to perform a lab simulation online or, read your book online I didn't have that till I got to college, till I got to university, because even in community college I didn't have to do that. Like that was still not even implemented. It was still get a hardbound book kind of thing.
Well, I still remember being in high school and having computer class, and they're teaching you how to set up an email.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think now a 7 or 8-year-old knows how to set up their own email. Like
exactly.
they could do that. I mean, come on, I see 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds on YouTube and selecting the videos they want to watch.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we're in high school. We're learning how to create an email and web searches and stuff like that. Now it's like that's just like common sense. Like you should already know that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think it's gonna be hard for the students who don't have resources.
Yeah.
Because not only do you need, the laptop or the tablet or, the desktop, whatever it is, you also need the programs for your computer, right? You need like Microsoft Word, Excel, all that. The schools that I've attended, they offer that to us for free. We just have to use our student account. But, even then it's like, okay, well, you're still going to need your Wi-Fi. Because, how else are you going to get online?
Yeah.
and and all the like kind of little supplemental things that you end up needing to do your online learning, and it adds up. It really does. And financial aid, I mean, hopefully you're on a scholarship, you have a scholarship, or you're getting financial aid to where you can cover those costs. But realistically, there's gonna be a lot of people who aren't on financial aid who cannot cover those costs. And the thing too is that it's not like it's gonna decrease the price of tuition.
Yeah, that's well. I mean, it's like like I bet a lot of these books they could be digital books, but they're still going to cost the same.
Exactly. Like I can rent a hardbound book cheaper than I can get a digital book. And and the thing, I think one of my biggest frustrations with the whole transition of in person to virtual, obviously it had to be done because of COVID, but I think my frustration was the fact that tuition is still the same price, if not higher. You're charging me as if you were teaching me in person. You're not providing me with like materials per se that I would be provided in a lab, like for example some type of model, like human model for anatomy or something that I would be provided in lab. Like all you're providing me with is pictures to something that I can Google. But you're still charging me as if you needed to do all these, as if I were a student attending school, using the facilities. And it's like, what? Like, I'm covering my own Wi-Fi. I'm covering my own desktop or laptop, or whatever. I'm covering my own books. Like, I'm covering my own prints.
Yeah. And back, you still had to pay for prints at school, did you?
No, they offered certain if you printed at certain locations, it was free printing. It was a limit to it, but it was free printing. And it was like, okay, well, if I know that I'm going to have to print, say, 10 pages, okay, well, I can print those 10 pages, I can split it. I can print 5 at this location and 5 at this other location if your limit's 5.
Yeah.
Or, print it at a different day kind of thing. Like, you can work around it. But now it's like you don't even have the option of getting free prints or anything like. Well, at least in my case, at my school, we don't have like free prints. It's you got to print it yourself, pay for it, and
And the unfortunate thing is, it's you would think you'd be paying the tuition, or you're paying the amount you're paying to keep the university going. The support staff, faculty, and stuff like that. But really, I mean, let's just say if they have campus police, I don't think you need campus police when there's nobody in there. I mean, I'm not saying those people should lose their jobs, and I'm not trying to say that either. But there's really no need.
Well, for example, it's like you guys, I'm sure part of the fees is, we need to keep the library running, but the library is closed to everybody. Yes, you can access books online, or you can access books, you can request books online or stuff like that and have them mailed to you and things like that. But I mean, you don't have the access to, like, you don't have access to the library where there's computers and things like that available, where there's like Wi-Fi and all that stuff where you could use, those resources in there. You're not able to use them now. So
I mean, just a simple fact, they don't have to turn on electricity or the water. So I mean, they don't have to worry about the bathrooms. I mean, electricity, like, that's a bill that I'm just saying. I mean, it'd probably be pretty expensive. Yeah. Now, it's not being used.
Or not used as often per se. But yeah, and I mean, even our parking permits didn't decrease. Even though people were not allowed on campus, they were still selling parking permits.
Wait. Stop it right there. Wait, you still had to pay for a parking permit even though they're not open?
You don't have to pay for a parking permit, but they're still selling it to you at the same price. They're like, you're not allowed on campus, but for some reason you want to spend, however X amount of dollars on.
How much was it?
It was $195.
$195 to park.
Yeah. And even this semester, where some students were being let on campus, where they're giving you the option of the hybrid, where you attend lecture online, but you go to a lab in person. It's like, it's cheaper to pay for the daily parking permit than to pay for, the $195 for the whole semester.
Wait, do you get like a plaque or something, or like a reserved spot?
No,
That sounds like a VIP parking pass.
no,
No, so it just
no. And I mean, I know for a fact that the price that I pay for parking back when I was attending school is considered to be low, because I know there's schools that charge in 3, 4, 500s. Okay,
wow.
for a parking permit for just a semester. So, I think that like one of the biggest things that I saw affected from COVID was tutoring. Tutoring just took a huge dive, because I used to attend tutoring almost every day for my classes because I needed it.
Yeah.
And so now, you have these students, because your tutors are students for the most part.
Okay. How about describe how was tutoring beforehand? Like, how was it?
Beforehand, you go to like the tutoring center or the STEM center, whoever offers the tutoring, you go to that location and you sign in. At least at my school, you would sign in. And, there would be tutors rotating around asking, do you need help? And then, they'd sit down with you if you needed help, and then they'd help you. And then, they'd do their rounds again. And, that was basically how it went. You don't get a tutor assigned to you. At least at my school, we didn't have one assigned to us. It was more of, if they know the subject that you need help on, they'll go help you. But as soon as you're done, as soon as they're done helping you, they're going to move on to the next student kind of thing. And then they'll come back and check on you and see if you need any other help. And that's the way it used to be. Mm-hmm. And now, you have to click a link online to join a Zoom tutoring thing where you sign in, or so a student worker signs you in. They send you over to a breakout room. They let the tutors know that you need help. And then these tutors come into the breakout room, but they don't have the resources. Like, they don't have the textbooks. They don't have, the material that they need to be able to assist you. Like, you can share your screen with them, but like in my case, for example, if I didn't get the ebook, if I got the hardbound book, I can't share with them that resource, right? Because I can't expect them to know everything on the fly. Like, yeah, maybe they got an A in my class when they took it, but maybe they took it 2-3 years ago. Mm-hmm. I can't expect them to like immediately recall it. It's unrealistic. So they're like, okay, well, let me see what I can find online. So they have to Google this stuff and see, what they can read about to help me.
Yeah.
And most of the time, in my experience, it's led to nowhere. It's led to, well, if I were you, I would ask your professor about this and that. And it's like, okay, well, if I could have asked my professor, I would have, but clearly, like, they're not available, or they haven't gotten back to me and I need help. Like, but I also understand, I'm not saying it's their fault. It's not the tutor's fault. It isn't. Yeah. But, I feel like the school should have done a better job of providing tutors with the resources needed.
So the tutors that were helping or trying to help, they're just fellow students?
Yeah, they're fellow students who've taken the course before, who got a good grade, and were recommended as tutors, and they're getting paid, of course. And that's who the tutors are.
And the availability of your professors to, I believe you described it as office hours. The availability depends on each professor?
Yeah, it depends on each professor. Obviously, they can't all have the same availability and stuff. But this semester, I think I got really lucky because all my professors have been very flexible with me, very understanding, and very much available. So, they like before a test, they're like, hey, we're going to have extra office hours today, or, drop-in hours and things like that. And so that's definitely helped me. But in previous semesters, I wasn't that lucky.
How has it been the communication with other classmates? Is there any communication? Of course, with you have a lab partner. Of course, there has to be some type of communication. But in other classes where you really don't have that open communication with other students, do you open a dialogue, or dialogue is not even open, or?
Some professors will assign us to groups, and they'll be like, oh, you're assigned to this group. If you have questions, you can post it on this discussion and anybody can answer it or whatever. But there's discussions that you have to answer, but they're for a grade, where you are responding back, you're posting your discussion and you're responding back to 2 other people's discussion or whatever. Yeah. But that's for a grade. But where, any type of optional discussion where you want to talk to someone or another classmate about something. At least I personally don't do it. I don't know if other people are doing it, but I don't know any of my classmates, and I mean, maybe like there's like their picture on the on there, but I don't really know them, and yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. Well, is it mandatory for you to be on the screen on the classes?
I am the first day, most of my professors wanted everybody to have their cameras turned on, kind of thing, to kind of put faces to names and stuff. But it hasn't been mandatory.
What do you prefer that?
Yeah, especially when like my room's a mess or something. I mean, you can change the background, of course, but yeah, I prefer that because it's just easier. And if you need to like get up and do something during lecture or whatever, you can do it, and it's just easier.
Well, all right, so has there been any funny moments or anything like memorable stuff that's happened?
I mean, there's always interruptions where someone forgets to turn off their mic, but it's not been necessarily embarrassing. It's more of like, oh, this person they're like literally having a full on conversation and they don't know that the mic's turned on. But like, I feel embarrassed even though it's not an embarrassing topic. And so what I do is I mute my computer because I can't listen to it. Like, I feel like I'm violating their privacy even though they're the ones who are unmuted. But yeah, I mute my computer so that I don't have to listen. Like, I turn the volume off so I don't have to listen.
Okay.
There's obviously, been that like kids in the background kind of thing, or, that kind of, but embarrassing per se, not really, no. At least not during my class lectures. But I'm sure to other people it's happened.
So overall, what have you learned from this as a college student going through this pandemic? What has been your biggest takeaway from this?
I've always known that I suck at time management, but it didn't affect me before as much as it does now. And so I think what I've learned the most is that like time management is like crucial no matter what. And I should have learned this a long time ago because I mean I'm already in my mid to late 20s. But yeah, I think that's a big takeaway for me is time management is crucial no matter what. And I mean I've obviously I've had, I've worked before and like I'm able to show up to work on time and things like that. I'm reliable in that sense, but like when it comes to having option of doing something at early sooner rather than later, it tends to be later.
What is the one positive thing you've been able to take out of this? One positive thing about this flexibility.
That I've been able to spend more time like with my dogs. He's getting older, and because I moved back home, I'm able to spend more time with him and see him more often, and literally almost every day unless I go out of town for something. But like that's my biggest thing.
What type of dog do you have?
I have a Shih Tzu Cockapoo mix, and he's so cute. Technically, I only have one under my name, but my sister doesn't live at home anymore, so her dog is technically my dog. So I really have to.
What are one of the tendencies of your dog that it's like? Because I have my little COVID dog as well. I'm working from home as well, and my Ask Mike podcast mascot. If anybody that doesn't know who she is, if you follow my page on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see pictures of her working really hard, being a great assistant. She is the mascot of Alice Mike's podcast, Coqueta. So back to what are some of the tendencies of your dog that like what does your dog do when you're working or when you're and when you're doing schoolwork or when you're busy, what is he doing?
He literally just gets on the bed and takes a nap. Like, that's all he does. He just takes a nap and he's just chilling there unless someone's getting home, and then he has to like run off the bed and go see if it's an intruder or not. Either way, he's gonna bark.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's it. But it's kind of like, without wanting to, we kind of, well, I kind of like trained him without meaning to. I don't know how to put it, but now when I get up and he starts seeing me like go comb my hair, he thinks we're gonna go on a walk. And so if he hasn't gone on a walk yet and I go to comb my hair, he starts getting ready. Like, he starts getting like wagging his tail. He follows me into the bathroom and is like, "Oh, okay, we're going on a walk, Mom. All right." Like, I'm ready. And then like I kind of have to let him down sometimes. Like, we're not going anywhere. Or you're not going anywhere. But he's so cute. He's such a good boy.
As everybody claims their dog is.
He really is such a good boy, though.
I've got to meet him, and yes, he's a really good boy. Love his eyes. There'll be a picture posted of him on my podcast on Instagram. Really beautiful eyes.
Just like his owner. He gets it from me.
So, and what's your dog's name?
Dude.
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 Just dude.
Just dude.
There's not gotta be a story. There's gotta be, like, just dude.
My dad named him.
Okay.
And there was really no reason for it. He was just like, because he was born in our house. And he's like, we're keeping him because he's the only one of his color, male. He's like, so we're going to keep him. And his name's going to be Dude. And that was it. Like, there was no like reasoning for it or nothing. It was just, his name's going to be Dude and he's going to be yours. And it's just stuck. And I call it Dude, but I call him Bubba or Big Boy. You know, we all have little like 20 different names for our pets. So.
All right, so that's that's definitely been the most positive things you got from the flexibility that this pandemic has given you as a college student.
Yeah, I mean, it's giving me the flexibility to spend more time with my dog. And I know for some people it's like, okay, seriously. But like, I love, like, my dog is my life. Like, that is my child. That I know people like, you can't compare it to a child. No, my dog is my child. Don't fight with me because I will fight back. So yeah, he's my child and I get to spend more time with him, and he's considered a senior dog, even though to me he's still a puppy. And so, you know, it's made especially because his mom passed away in December of 2020. Like, I'm definitely like appreciating more the time that I have with him, because I know that, you know, he's not going to be around forever, unfortunately, but I'm definitely taking advantage of the time that he's still here. That's
great. Dogs are awesome.
Yeah.
Really awesome. Awesome companions, and I think it's I definitely I'll definitely know that, you know, when they say that dog's main purpose is just to make you happy. Just to be there with you, and just all they want is make you happy, and you know, and all they want back is just maybe a little belly rub.
And a walk.
But yeah, just a belly rub and just a rub, and maybe some treats.
Yes. Yes.
If you spoil them enough, they'll know what a treat is, and they you can even touch the bag when they're already all over you because they wanted the treat.
Exactly.
But it's a wonderful, wonderful situation to be in.
Yes.
And feeling as well.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you have anything else to say about your experience in as college COVID student, or this era of being in college and then COVID, or do you have some type of statement or something you want to say about it that you haven't said before? Do you want to just give like overall like a summary, not as like a summary, or anything else you want to say about this?
I think that, you know, that professors who are willing to be flexible with their students and look out for the students, even though there's a bunch of things going on in their own personal lives as well, are like honestly heroes, because I've had professors. Typically, I don't miss assignments. I tend to turn things in right away. But it's happened a couple of times where I wasn't able to turn in an assignment, and my professor will email me and be like, "Hey, I saw you didn't turn in this assignment. I'm gonna give you a 1 more day extension, so you can turn it in today," for example. And it's just like, wow, like I never even asked for this extension, and you noticed that I didn't turn something in, and like I don't know, it made me feel like, oh, someone's, it's like they're looking out for me kind of thing, and they're being flexible with me, and I really appreciate that. And I feel like if you're a professor who's doing that for your students, I mean, shout out to you, because honestly, it's really helping. It's making a big difference. My chemistry professor did that at the beginning of the semester for me, where if he hadn't done that for me, I think I'd be failing the course right now. But right now I have a B, thank God. And it was all because he gave me an extension,
Yeah.
a one-time extension, and that's all I needed. I didn't ask for it, but he was just like, "Hey, I'm gonna give this to you because honestly, like if you don't turn in this assignment, it's really gonna impact you." And I mean, he didn't have to, it is my responsibility to turn things in and stuff, but
Yeah.
definitely makes a huge difference, because I know, as a student, like my professors, I know that they're going through things as well, and everybody's going through something, and so I understand where like sometimes maybe they didn't upload something when they said they would or things like that. And I'm like, okay, like that's okay. And then maybe they'll upload it like at a later time or whatever. And so, as a student, I'm like, I'm also being flexible in that sense, because sometimes there's some students who are like, you told me you're going to upload something at this time, and why isn't it there? And now I'm going to have to, wait till this day to learn it or whatever. And, I'm not that type of student. I'm more of like, okay, well, something must have happened or things come up.
Because technology happens. I mean,
yeah, life happens.
Yeah.
And so, and like, I feel like if your students are being flexible with you, then, you being flexible with your students is great too.
Yeah.
And I feel like that makes a huge difference. And professors who are checking in and letting their students know that, hey, like if there's something going on, let me know and I'll work with you. I think that makes a huge difference, especially once you get to college, because at that point we're all adults and we have like a million things we're juggling. Both students and professors, and it makes a huge difference. It really does.
Yeah, definitely. Something what you said earlier about going to college and getting healthcare. So I don't think a lot of people think about that. I had to get a job so I could get some type of healthcare, so I could so I think that was something that I really didn't think about. I know probably a lot of people don't think about that. But I think that you come out with a great point of as adults, I don't think we go back to our pediatrician.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the ER costs a lot of money.
Yes.
You can't really just go for anything, and especially right now. Like you don't want to step into the ER. Like,
exactly.
No. Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever want to step in the ER, but urgent care is not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think college students should definitely think about, hey, healthcare. What's because they I think one has to be healthy anyways. But,
yeah.
But being aware that, hey, you have to have a coverage or some type of to back you up. That's a great point. Yeah, it should be stressed to everybody.
Yeah, I think that not enough is being done to bring awareness of the importance of healthcare to students, and not enough is being done to have accessible healthcare in the U.S. in general.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important, to stress that, healthcare is important, because even though you may be the healthiest person in the world, you never know where you're going to get into an accident that's going to require you to go to the hospital.
How you were saying back then where it's when you had your job, full-time job, and only sleeping maybe an hour, 2 hours or so, stuff like that. Do you think it would help you out to have somebody or something to talk about what you're going through?
I think I'm a big advocate of mental health and people seeking services and things like that. you know, I think that it can't hurt you to go talk to a professional and, you know, just kind of vent to someone who isn't going to judge you and who's going to, you know, at least try to help you, you know, cope with whatever it is you're going through. So I think it's important for those resources, you know, to be available to people and for people to know how to access them. Because I know there are a lot of resources out there, but I know there's also a lot of misinformation and a lot of people who don't know how to access, you know, the mental health resources. And I mean, you know, we can always use more mental health resources.
Did the college offer any type of psych help or any kind of, I don't want to say psych help, but any like support group or support?
They offer they offer on campus like counseling in a sense, where you can go see some, you know, a counselor and you can talk to them. And now, you know, once COVID hit, they had it available like virtually and stuff. I didn't use the services virtually, but they did offer them.
Okay.
And in the syllabus, at least all the syllabuses that I've had for all my courses, there's always a mention of it, of the program and how you can go about, you know, contacting them to set up an appointment.
Okay, well, so there is that resource out there. At least they try to make it accessible. But you know, it's up to the person to go get the help, of course. But at least at least it's out there.
Right.
Okay. All right. And anything else you'd like to say?
That's all, folks.
All right, Jazmin. Well, thank you very much for agreeing to this interview about being a college student during this COVID pandemic. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Very busy.
Has your time management improved?
Definitely not.
But hey, at least you know.
Now I've just confirmed that it sucks, but it's not like I'm actively doing anything to fix it. Even though I should be. I totally should be, because I'm an adult now. Like, I've been an adult for a while now. So yeah.
All right, everybody. So thank you for listening to this podcast once again. Don't forget to like, follow, and share. Facebook, Alice Mike Podcast. Instagram, same name, Alice Mike's Podcast. I actually have a YouTube page as well, under the same name, Alice Mike's Podcast. So like, follow, and share, and that's where I tell everybody when new episodes come out. And more pictures of Coqueta, of course, the mascot. And we're going to have some pictures of Dude coming up as well. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And once again, this podcast has been encouraged by CA Truck Lines, Smart Stop Insurance Services, JC Herrera Trucking, and Unique Janitorial. And again, they've been encouraged. Thank you very much for listening. And I always send off. Don't forget to smile. If nobody smiles back, get in front of the mirror and smile. Because then somebody will be smiling back at you. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.